Sally Hates Rand is a Wheel of Time podcast that will contain spoilers for all 14 books. So if you're anti-spoiler, pause this, read all 14 books, and come back. We'll be here, waiting.
Our title is a joke and is meant to be taken as such. In the context of this podcast, everybody refers to us and our cat. You are free to feel however you want about Rand, who is a fictional character. Don't DM us.
The world is a mess, Dark One stretching out his hand. The dragon's reborn, the fire's been fanned, but everybody hates Rand. Everybody hates Rand. Everybody hates Rand.
Alright, let's set the scene.
Okay.
It's Saturday morning. I don't think we've recorded on a Saturday morning since our New York days.
Yeah.
Probably. We have to make this fast because Sally has to be somewhere, and also it's now hot in Utah, so we have to have the AC on. So while we record, we turn the AC off to preserve our always precarious sound quality. So, gotta do it before we overheat. Or I overheat. I've been having temperature regulation problems the last 18 hours. Possibly due to PMS or my sunburn. Does that happen?
No, it happens to me when I get sunburned.
You
I
just
like
feel hot.
Yeah, you kind of feel like you're retaining heat.
Okay, well, yeah, I went to the park with my nephews yesterday and got a little sunburn on my shoulders. That's not a little sunburn, a big sunburn, but I get sunburned so frequently that...
Yeah, I mean, I also do. Like, can spend like 30 seconds in the sun and have like 3rd-degree burns, it feels like. So.
Yeah, I was outside for an hour, and I technically had sunscreen on, so...
Yeah, we're also, in terms of energy levels, well, put it this way. We got a new cat last weekend.
Yeah.
Which we're generally excited about. He's very sweet. His name is Edmund. Tibble is now yelling. You probably heard that.
Raspy. He sounds like the girl from The Ring.
And so we've been attempting like a slow introduction between Edmund and Tybalt. They were separated for a few days. Tybalt almost lost his mind. But now that they have been introduced, Tybalt has lost his mind. And so has Edmund. Last night, we locked him in my room, and then Tybalt had Emily in like an attempt to be like, we're not sure if the cats will fight at night, you know. But Tybalt just kept attempting to break into my room and succeeded quite a few times.
Yeah, Sally's door is broken. It's not like Tybalt is one of the raptors in Jurassic Park who's learned how to open doors.
Although this morning I locked him out of my bathroom because Ed has to eat some wet food for some dental work that he had. So I like just closed my bathroom door because Tybalt was desperate for it. And Tybalt was like reaching up like he was attempting to get at the doorknob.
That's horrifying.
I was like, stop.
Tybalt's the stupidest creature on Earth, so if he can learn how to open doors, then there's no hope for humanity.
Yeah. So anyway, they were just like desperate to get to each other. Also, Ed really wanted to get out of my room. So they just sort of screamed at each other. And I'm a really heavy sleeper, so I slept through a lot of it. Not all of it, but a lot of it. But poor Emily was...
Sally sleeps like the dead, and I sleep like a person with chronic anxiety.
Yeah.
Not to say you don't have anxiety, but my anxiety is the type where if everything isn't perfectly in its place... When I was a kid and my dad was on business trips and I knew he was coming home, like, from the airport that night, I would lie awake waiting for the garage door to open and thinking when it didn't at the time I was expecting, I would just imagine all the car accidents he could have gotten into.
Oh, poor baby.
Yeah, so that's, like, my whole vibe. So, if any noise happens, I'm like, what the fuck's up? So, like, this morning, Sally's like, good morning, and I'm like, is it? I hate these bastards.
Yeah, I felt bad that I was, like, chipper.
You don't have to feel bad for being chipper. I was glad you... Oh, there goes the fucking muscle brigade outside our
so stupid
door.
I also feel bad that I'm such a heavy sleeper because I feel like Emily has to deal with the nighttime terrors that Tibble always commits, and I'm just like snoozing, probably snoring, just peaceful.
The problem is that a different person would probably just accept earlier on that Tibble and Ed are not going to be stopped and they're going to be together at night and would just like be at peace with that and go to sleep. I'm like, I can't come to terms with this, so every time Tibble breaks into Sally's room, I have to have a whole fucking meltdown. This is sounding more dramatic than it is. I'm fine, really, despite my sunburn and the fact that I cut myself shaving multiple times.
Oh my gosh. It is the worst. So we're okay. I mean, I have to go to my 3rd day of family engagement, and I might
Yeah, that's emotionally
break.
exhausting.
But we're here, we're alive, philosophically speaking, if not physically speaking. And this is Everybody Hates Rand, your friendly neighborhood Wheel of Time podcast.
The AC just came on.
Yeah.
I literally turned it off. I literally turned it off.
I know, I watched her do it.
Hold on. I must have missed a button.
Come sit with me, Tybalt. Come here, baby.
Ugh, I hate our thermostat.
Yeah.
I have to go through this whole rigmarole just to change heat and cold. Okay, this is the most boring episode introduction we've done ever. Yeah. 2 chapters today. One very brief as Rand gets kidnapped, and one dealing with a lot of points of view all at once. Actually both chapters switch points of view quite a bit.
Yeah.
That's because we're getting into climax territory, baby. And that's how Robert Jordan operates. A lot of writers operate. Rand getting kidnapped. We have already pretty exhaustively talked about why this happens.
Yeah.
I mean, not the, motivations of the people behind it, although that's sort of a given. Aes Sedai gonna Aes Sedai, or whatever the hell. But this could have been so easily averted if Rand had not perfectly set it up. Rand, sets up the whole basketball court for them to get a slam dunk on him, you know?
Yeah.
If he hadn't started sending away all the maidens, reducing his guard to but 2 maidens who stand outside of the room that he is in. Literally, if he'd had one person in the room with him, would have been fine, because someone would have noticed they were missing.
Yeah.
Because, the maidens at least know, oh, Rand might go somewhere, but we would find a way to alert each other.
Yeah.
But Rand has made a habit of disappearing, so that's sort of an easy lie for the Aes Sedai to tell. Min's not there for some reason, and she gets kidnapped also, which off screen.
Yeah, which is why?
I know, I'm like, why do the Aes Sedai are I think they talk about it later. I think Min sees something and tries to stop something, so they kidnap her, but it's confusing. Yeah, so it's hard to not blame Rand, at least a little bit, for this situation.
Yeah, I think we've talked about it in an earlier episode, but it is obviously it's not Rand's fault that the Aes Sedai kidnap him and put him in a fucking box.
Yeah, torture is not his fault.
Yeah, but it is definitely Rand really does set the scene by having a complete disregard for his own safety. Mm-hmm. And I think that was the phrase that Emily used. And it also is just part of his weird kind of I'm invincible thing that he's got going on.
Yeah, he's got a bit of a god complex, and his reaction to what happens is he immediately starts going, I should have listened to Mori Rain. I should never have trusted any Aes Sedai ever at all. And I'm like, that's the wrong approach for you to be taking. What you should be thinking is not, I should not have trusted Aes Sedai, but I should have trusted some of the other people who have proven that they care about my well-being.
Yeah. It's just really frustrating, especially because Rand repeatedly hits on his own importance in political and, mythological affairs. He's like, I need to live to the last battle. And then who the fuck cares what happens to me? Which is, a troubling mindset anyway. But it's like, if you really think of yourself as this important, why are you not more invested in, like, taking advantage of things that protect you? Like, your bodyguard of, like, 10,000 people.
Yeah, it's a very odd.
And it's like all world leaders have bodyguards. Or
Yeah.
some form of guard. Like, it's not... Like, it's really frustrating. How many times could I say that word this episode?
I mean, just because the whole thing is frustrating.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
Well, and it's just, like, so... The scene, like, right after Rand gets kidnapped, we switch over to Bane's point of view.
Yeah, Bane and Gia.
Yeah. And she's just, like, one of the Aes Sedai is like, Rand has gone back to Caemlyn. And Bane is just like, yeah, he does that. Or yes.
Yeah, Bane's like, yeah, I've heard from the other maidens that he's constantly running off.
And so it's just, like, the people who are right there when it happened
Yeah.
are just, like, perfectly set up through Rand's incomprehensible behaviors to be like, okay.
Yeah, like, Rand keeps thinking all I need is one person to come in right now at the wrong moment. Sulin or whoever.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not going to happen because you have pushed everyone away so effectively.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and it is, like, again, he couldn't have predicted that these actions would lead to him being kidnapped, so it is, like, don't want to slip into, like, blaming him for being kidnapped and tortured, but it's, like you mentioned, it's really then just, like, the cherry on top that when he's, like, we switch over to him later, and he's, like, lying shielded on a bed in the basement of that creepy house they're staying in.
Yeah, which is so scary.
Yeah. And instead of being like, man, Dunk, I've made some mistakes. He's just like, well.
Yeah, I think what's frustrating is not even necessarily that it happens. And I think we've said multiple times that the plot of this book and the things that happen and the way that Robert Jordan sets them up work within the microcosm of this book. Like, Robert Jordan has clearly sort of set the domino pieces for this to happen, including Rand's various self-destructive behaviors.
Yeah.
What's frustrating is that in later books, Rand doesn't learn from this experience or doesn't, or incorporates this experience, not into changing his behaviors at all.
Yeah.
He just kind of takes it as one more sort of checking off a box for his slipping into insanity. And even when Rand's sort of will he won't he chemistry with insanity is more or less resolved in book 12, at the end of book 12. It's not in a way that Rand is able to, or at least he doesn't with us, look back on the things that has happened to him and change his perspective about them, really.
Yeah.
He just sort of is like, whatever, I'm at peace with everything that's happened to me. And I'm like, that's great, and I'm totally supportive of you having that. But also, at this point in the series is when we should get the satisfaction of you looking back and being like, Dunk, I made mistakes. And those mistakes were that I did not trust enough people. I allowed bad things to happen to me. That's so victim blamey. But, like, I did not care enough for my own well-being. Da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, the fact that, like, still after this episode, this event, like, there's a scene in book 8 where the maidens come in and, like, kick Rand's ass because he's still not telling them where he's going.
Yeah.
And it's like, that is months after this has happened. And it's just like, my dude, my guy, my homie, we got to make some behavioral adjustments here.
Yeah, like, at a certain point, you're like, I don't even want Rand to live to face the end of the world because he's so fucking stupid. I don't believe he'll succeed.
Yeah.
He'll just condemn the world to an era of darkness and chaos or whatever it is the Dark One wants. But
It's too...
This guy can't, this 22-year-old or however old he is, basically can't even do his own laundry. He's so inept at taking care of himself.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't want some frat boy saving the world if this is the level of incompetence that we're working with.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very frustrating. And then we see this disregard for your personal safety then mimicked in Elaine, Nynaeve, Brigitte, and Avienda, who just completely, in the next chapter, we switch over to Ebudar, who completely reject Mat's perfectly reasonable offers to have a bodyguard with them when they walk into one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in the continent.
Yeah, this is so ironic because I don't talk about this on the air, but the writing project I'm working on deals a lot with the sort of meta-narrative of the hero's journey.
Yeah.
So characters, like, make comments about what heroes TM are like. And I literally just wrote a line that was like, heroes have no sense of self-preservation. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, Jesus fuck, they really... I mean, they really don't.
No.
And that's just sort of an aspect, not necessarily of all protagonists, but in fantasy, it is like a hallmark of the heroism complex that you're like, I do not give a shit about myself, except for Mat Cauthon.
Yeah, who's like, I give very many shits about myself.
Who all the time is also like, I am not a hero.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, good for you.
Thank you.
Because apparently if you're a hero, you're also dumb as hell.
Yeah, the hero industrial complex.
Yeah, but Robert Jordan doesn't necessarily seem self-aware of that.
No.
He never really has anyone call out the various people, or he does, but to zero effect.
Yeah, like the maidens are constantly like, Rand,
Please.
you can't do this.
Rand, we're begging you.
And Rand's just like, silly women, all worried about me.
I need to be worried about them because they're ladies.
Because they're delicate females. Rand would say females.
You're right, yeah, he's an incel. Well, he would be an incel if he wasn't also having sex. He just has incel vibes. You know?
Yeah. I mean, if the women didn't take more agency than he'd be an incel forever.
Yeah.
Because, which I mean is troubling, because the women are a little aggressive. Okay, anyway. We're spiraling.
Yeah, we're... Rand gets kidnapped, and as much as we have belabored the point that it is incredibly frustrating, it is also a well-constructed moment.
Yep.
It's very traumatizing. This whole sequence is very scary. Rand's point of view, wherein he's being kidnapped and literally paralyzed. That's kind of the freakiest part of what people do to him, to me. Like, they are contorting his body to fit into a box, which, as... I don't know, as a person whose body just simply does not move in certain ways, like, and I'm sure you can relate to this as well, but I, like, can't sit cross-legged because my body, my flexibility doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
So to have an external force just, like, shoving your body into certain positions is a deeply horrifying notion.
Yeah, especially because Rand is such a big boy.
Yeah,
like,
he's a very big boy. He's talking about having to have his head between his knees to fit into this box, and I'm like, oh... The, like, suffocation you'd feel.
Yeah, and just that position in general already kind of restricts your breathing.
Yeah. I mean, I guess he doesn't have titties. Maybe he does. I mean, you know, like, man titties. Yeah. He's so buff.
Big mommy milkers, as they call them on TikTok.
That is disgusting. Ew. If I have to title this episode Rand's Big Mommy Milkers, I will fucking riot. Gross. TikTok needs to get burned down.
I'm sure it comes from something else, but it is like, yeah. People will be like, look at, you know, Chris Evans, Big Mommy Milkers, or whatever.
Oh, Captain America, no less. Just kidding. Anthony Mackie's Captain America now.
That's right.
My boy.
So yeah, Rand gets taken out, and then we get kind of little snippets across the palace of people being like, we don't know where Rand is, but he disappears all the time.
Yeah, Bane and Shiad are like, okay, well, he disappears all the time. We don't really know what to do about it. And then Nandera shows up to talk to Perrin, and she's like, he does this all the time, but do you know where he is? And Perrin's like, no. Like, fuck me, I'm just here trying to make peace with my angry wife.
Yeah.
And then we see Soralia, who was supposed to have been with Min, and Soralia is just kind of walking around the city, like, trying to find out what's going on. She notes that there is major channeling happening at this manor house, but of course the Aes Sedai were careful to establish that there is always major channeling happening there, and no one really questioned that.
Yeah, Sorlia mentioned, she's like, the wise ones have stopped bothering to wonder why it's happening. Oops, sorry. Because it's just, like, been happening every day for months.
Yeah, no one, like, Rand is laying there thinking, God, I just need one wise one to walk past and be like, someone's, you know, using a fuckload of the power. Has anyone ever told Rand, like, hey, they're using a ton of the power over there? Because I feel like that would have set off his alarm bells.
Yeah.
Been like, really? There's only supposed to be, you know, however many of them.
Yeah, 3 or 6 or whatever.
He thinks there's, 6 or 7, and, whatever. The whole thing is set up very perfectly. It's a really well executed plan, but the plan would not have gone off without a hitch as it does without the, not involvement, but, various missteps of everyone else.
Yeah.
And yeah, Soralia also notes that Min has gone missing somewhere between where she was with the Wise Ones and the palace.
Yeah.
So, who knows where Min is. So that's where we leave Rand and his situation. We then flit over to Abu Dar, where, really this chapter, I kept thinking, seems so much more like a prologue for the next book.
Yeah, it's really, I was thinking the exact same thing.
It is setting up everything that happens in the next book, which is bizarre at the end of a book. Like, what's supposed to happen now is plot points get resolved.
Yeah, instead of being presented to us.
Yeah, like, we're suddenly picking up all these new threads, including, Elaine sees one of these, women, these healer women who wear the, like, red and blue belts or whatever it is, and she's like, oh, that's curious. Excuse me. Oh, that's curious, because she witnesses this woman channeling. Mm-hmm. And she's like, oh, weird, and begins to be curious about this. We see Elaine and Nynaeve using disguises of the power to disguise themselves and Brigitte and Avienda so they can leave the palace and totally ditch Mat. We even set up the, like, scene that happens pretty early on in Mat's points of view next book where, like, Mat starts out at a horse race.
Yeah.
Where Oliver is the jockey, because that's how it works in...
Yeah, in Abu Dar, like, young
these
boys are the
boys.
jockeys.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Nalshon's been entering Oliver in horse races.
Which is really fucking iconic
I
of
know.
Nalshon.
And Matt's like,
Nalshon's like, I'm at least gonna give him a productive hobby.
yeah, I'm teaching him to be a good little jockey boy.
Yeah, I'm gonna win money off of him. What the fuck?
Listen, if I have to deal with my annoying stepson, I will win money off of him.
Relatable.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, that's even being set up. Oh, they're setting up the Shanshin right away, because while Mat is gambling, Vanon comes up to him and says, they got out of the palace again, and Mat's like, next you're gonna tell me the Daughter of the Nine Moons is here to claim me.
Yeah.
And some dude at the other end of the table is like, does a spit take.
Yeah.
And Mat's like, you good? He's like, yeah, just swallowed wrong, but with a strange accent. And we're like, okay. The Shanshin are in fucking Abu Dar, and the last time we saw this happen was in Tanchico. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it has quite been 100p confirmed for us that the Shanshin have taken over Tanchico, but that has definitely been the implication.
Yeah.
Based on the various White Cloak reports.
Yeah, that they refuse to believe.
So we're like, Abu Dar is next. And I'm like, it is good that they're setting all these things up. But this positioning at the end of book 6 rather than... It's like Robert Jordan is always throwing together these 900-page prologues. When it's like, buddy, you've written a perfectly serviceable 30-page prologue or whatever right here.
Yeah, like, I can't exactly remember what happens in the prologue of book 7. We'll get there, you know. Look at how much more reasonably sized book 7 is compared to some of the other ones.
Oh, yeah. Book 7 is pretty, short.
Yeah, and it's just like I just read the prologue for Winter's Heart, which was, like, literally 90 pages. And just, like, a bunch of stuff happened that easily could have been just later in the book. So it's like, why did this need to be a prologue when Robert Jordan is writing prologues at other points? It's just, the structure is very confusing. And again, I just think perhaps a more thorough edit would have fixed some of these structural problems, but what do I know?
So yeah, we're setting all that up. We're setting up also Edwin has Edwin has a conversation with Logain, or like half a conversation, you know, because Logain can't talk to people because he's worried about being murdered, which like, who can blame him? He's like, are you gonna murder me? And she's like, well, I won't do anything bad to you, but I can't guarantee what the Hall's gonna do. And it's like, cool.
Thanks, Egg.
Like, she's trying to get a feel for what he's gonna do if he leaves. Because, of course, she is going to help him escape. Because she's like, I don't feel great about them, you know, just casually murdering him. Or allowing him to die.
What's that even mean? Are they gonna starve him to death?
It means pushing him down a set of stairs at the first convenient moment.
They're kicking him off a cliff.
Yeah, they're just like, whoops.
Gonna roadrunner him.
It was a freak accident. Dumb ways to die is Logain. So Egg's like, I just want him to go, like, join Rand. And I'm like, I mean, yeah, I guess you want someone to be keeping an eye on him, but let me tell you, Rand, it won't be Rand. It'll be Mosram Tem.
Yeah.
But Egg's like, well, it's better if he goes to Andor or whatever to join this group of men who can channel than if he starts trying to raise his own army and become the Dragon Reborn again. And I'm like, that would almost be better.
The Dragon Reborn.
The Dragon... the Re-Dragon Reborn.
Two Dragon... Re-Dragon Reborn.
Two Dragon, two Born. Tokyo Drift.
Stupid. Two Dragon, two Reborn.
Well, can't you just go, like, join Masima and then become Masima's Dragon Reborn, you know?
Logain should, I mean...
Logain should actually die.
Yeah, not that I necessarily approve of the Aes Sedai murdering him, but Logain is a freak and I hate him, so...
The funniest possible thing that could have happened is if Egg sets up his whole escape and then he actually does, like, fall off a cliff. Just totally on accident.
And everyone's like, oh, good job, Amberlin, you killed Logain. And she's like,
oh, shit! Oh my god.
This worked out in the worst but also best way possible.
I'm innocent, but he did die. Yikes. I don't know. It's a little odd because we're seeing Egg start to take control as the Amyrlin, but we're like still allowing her to be the type of innocent, you know, that she's not gonna let some random dude die.
Yeah.
Egg as Amyrlin later on, I think, would see or would understand better the point of view of many of the Aes Sedai who are like, maybe we just kill him. And I'm not saying that's good or right. Yeah. Egg probably does the correct thing here. But Egg is corrupted by the political process, as pretty much anyone would be.
Yeah.
So we are still seeing, like, Egg in this transitory stage between cold-blooded Amyrlin and innocent farm girl.
Yeah.
18-year-old farm girl. We've gotten a lot of ages confirmed in this book, which is so odd.
I know.
Do you think Robert Jordan was like, oh, I've never really told people how old?
Yeah, probably. Someone was like, how old is everyone?
Yeah, some convention. Someone was like, is Egg supposed to be 15 or 25? Because the way you write, who knows?
Yeah, and he's like, ooh.
He's like, oh, I never thought about it.
Shit.
I just thought of her as a young maiden, whatever that means.
Maiden. She's maiden-aged.
She's virginal.
She's the virgin age.
The virgin age. And everyone's like, what the fuck does that mean? He's like, well, I'm an incel too, so whatever.
I don't know.
Like,
how do women age?
I don't know how female ages work. Don't ask me to do that.
Do they run on a different calendar?
I mean, based on how he has set up the Aes Sedai, so he never has to answer questions about how old they are. He's like...
I could age however, I don't know what happens under there.
They're 300, maybe?
Under those skirts they wear?
But don't worry, they don't have wrinkles.
Yeah, that's
unattractive wrinkles.
disgusting.
Yeah. How dare they? How dare women age normally?
I just think men should be shot. Sorry, I have no patience for them this week.
I have a hard time with this too. What else is being set up here?
Oh, Lan the Maytag Man returns.
What? What did you
Like,
call?
Dan the Maytag Man?
Never heard that.
No.
Is it like a commercial?
Yeah.
Oh.
For-
Lan the Maytag Man.
At least I think it was Dan. I mean, what other name would it be?
Yeah, they set up the usual Lan is death.
Oh my, he really hammers it home in
And
this.
Lan walks in, steps out of the darkness where he's perfectly camouflaged, and is like, does the Benedict Cumberbatch voice and is like, I am fire.
Yeah.
I am death. And you're like, could you calm down?
Okay.
Maybe you need to like eat a snack or something,
Yeah.
and you'll feel better.
Eat a Snickers.
This isn't you, man. This becomes a fucking Snickers commercial.
Yeah, Morel pulls out a Snickers bar. It's like, come here. This isn't,
Come here.
this isn't you.
She's like wild animal, offering her handful of sugar cubes to a feral horse. Stupid. I mean, the whole thing is nasty because Miral's over here with her 19 warders already.
Yeah.
Already. 19 warders and counting. The Miral.
Oh no.
And she has pulled in Nisao, one of the, I think, yellow Aja sisters, who, according to Mirel, has specialized or has been studying afflictions of the mind. And I'm like, I don't really think the last, 2 months of land traveling about has really changed his mental state.
No.
So why didn't you guys bring in the therapist, years ago?
Yeah. When Moiraine first found him, also wandering ferally through the woods or whatever.
Literally. I'm pretty sure that's what happens.
And she's like, ooh, I gotta bring it. Can we get the therapist hotline, please?
I mean, yeah, why don't the warders have, like at my job, they have this, benefit. They're like, guess what? You can call someone and talk about your problems. Like the hotline
I have that too.
Yeah. Because employers are like, we don't want to be blamed if our employees
Snap.
snap and either bring a gun to work or commit suicide. Which is grim, but welcome to America. And I'm like, why don't they just fucking set that up for the warders?
Yeah.
Get like a, hello? Get them some help.
Yeah.
Get them some Zoloft or some shit.
Yeah. Ooh, love Zoloft.
Yeah, the antidepressants Lan needs are out of this world.
Yeah, let's set up some group therapy. Let's set
Oh
up
my god, the warders.
Warders Anonymous.
Warders Anonymous. Here's
Yeah.
the batshit thing my eyes that I did recently.
Could you imagine?
Because Robert Jordan doesn't believe that women are rational creatures.
No, their wombs, they're all
They're
wandering.
wandering. The wombs. They're wandering. The wombs are loose in the hospital. Yeah, Muriel's like, I just need you to help me with this boy. And Nisao's like, you're gonna get in a lot of trouble about this if anyone finds out, and I'm gonna get in a lot of trouble, and Moiraine would get in a lot of trouble if she weren't already fucking dead.
Yeah.
Quote unquote dead. And Muriel's like, yeah, but I agreed to it because he's hot? I don't know why she agreed to it.
Yeah, Morel is also, criminally insane.
Yeah, fully like, what the fuck are you doing, girl?
Yeah.
She's like, I just love warders so much.
I just love possessing men.
And I'm like, no one's like, hey, that's a problem. I just don't understand why Moiraine, if she was willing to break all of these rules, wasn't like, I'm just gonna pass the bond to Nynaeve, a person he actually likes.
Yeah.
Like,
I know.
Nynaeve can keep it a secret if she has to.
Yeah, it's so frustrating because it's like Morel will, hold him until Nynaeve is full Aes Sedai or whatever Moiraine's logic is. When in the same book, previously, Elaine just bonded Brigitte
Yeah.
as a warder.
It's like, no big deal. I'm like, Moiraine, nothing's stopping Nynaeve from having a warder,
Yeah.
except rules, which you apparently
Don't give
You
a
have
fuck about.
literally spent the last 5 books being like, Balefire, bitch.
Yeah.
Like,
Fuck the rules.
fuck the police, fuck the rules, I do what I want. I'm Moiraine. Except when it comes to giving Lan away in a neat gift-wrapped package.
Yeah, we're just gonna send him through this.
Weird, convoluted ringer of women. They're also like, Lan's super badly injured because he had to go in a straight line to Muriel. He wouldn't step aside for any fights. And I'm like, what has Lan been doing that he's like covered in wounds? Him, a warder, who's pretty
Yeah.
good at not getting wounds.
Yeah, and they're just like, some of them are like nasty and infected, and it's like, have you literally just been like running into swords on purpose?
Well, it sounds like it, because I feel like a normal person, if they're like, I gotta get to so-and-so by the fastest means possible, like if it was Matt, he'd be like, well, okay, there's danger here, so I'm going to sidestep that
Yeah.
and still get to her pretty fast, you know? Slash, like, I'll be just as, like, there's logic there that's like, I will be equally fast if I avoid the danger than if I meet the danger and get stabbed and have to care for the wound.
Yeah, I feel like you'll be faster if you don't get stabbed.
Yeah, but they're like, Lan's depressed, so anytime he sees a sword, he's like, I'll throw myself on that for funsies. Like, it's like supposed to be an exercise in self-harm, but
Yeah.
the book doesn't really... The book is sort of squeamish about saying that outright.
Yeah.
So there's all these implications, like, we have to bring in a therapist, and da-da-da-da-da. Egg also talked to the other 2 girls in Teleron Riyadh. Not that that was very productive or anything. It was just Elaine and Nynaeve lying to her repeatedly.
Brutally. And
They're
Egg
like, we're sure we'll get it. And Egg's like, okay, they're clearly having a very bad time, but whatever.
no self-preservation.
Yeah, the weird competitiveness over finding the bowl of the winds is so bizarre.
I know.
Like, Elaine's like, Vandine and Adelius are also in this neighborhood looking. No one's talking to them because they're eye to eye. But I'm like, no one's talking to you guys either.
Yeah. You're
What's the
not
difference?
winning.
Yeah, and Elaine's like, I'm not going to let them find my bowl, she says. And I'm like, you guys are on the same side. Your weird controllingness is like, it doesn't matter who finds it, as long as it gets found.
Yeah, maybe you could offer, I don't know, to help them.
To work together in any sort of way.
Apparently there's only one side, and it's Elaine's side. And if you're not Elaine herself, you're her enemy.
Yeah, like, or even just embrace the fact that there are multiple people looking for it.
Yeah.
And they're all good people. I
Yeah.
mean, that you know of.
Yeah, I mean, at least it's Vandine and Adelius and not, like, who the fuck ever else. Like, I know they had their weird power dynamic, but, like, Vandine and Adelius are pretty decent as far as Aes Sedai go.
Yeah, they're solid. We know Moiraine trusts them.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're just nice, weird little old ladies.
Yeah, very, arsenic and old lace sisters,
Yeah.
you know?
Redonkulous.
Yeah, the whole thing is.
These chapters are just like, how dumb can all of our main characters be?
Yeah, how stupid can we make everyone except for Matt, who is still just like, hello?
Yeah.
I'm just here trying to... Egg is like, are you guys using Matt? Like, letting him help you? And they're like, well, we don't really think he can help us. And Egg's like, I mean, he literally bends fate.
Yeah.
Like, isn't it, like, the first time they bring Matt out helping them, they find it?
Yeah. He's literally just a luck boy.
Yeah.
It's like carrying a little 4-leaf clover around with you.
And they're like, oh, wow, we could have been in Abu Dar for 3 days instead of they're already on day 11.
Yeah. No, it's...
Just weaponize Taviran a little more, I am begging you.
Yeah. Speaking of Matt, what's his manservant's name?
Narum?
Narum is like, my lord, you have a wine stain on your coat, and one of the sleeves is ripped, and you smell.
And Matt's like, ugh.
He's like, can you please just change your coat? And Matt's like, ugh, fine.
Matt's like, we have a truce. Narum is allowed to say whatever shit he wants about my appearance, but he does not get to actually dress me. Yeah. Which is in contrast to Rand's slightly comedic, I'm letting Sulin dress me only because it is the simplest, is the path of least resistance.
Yeah, and the image of Sulin, who I imagine as, like, I know she's tall, but not as tall as Rand, just sort of manhandling him into his coat like a toddler.
Sulin kind of has short king vibes, you know?
Yeah. Like, for an ale, I'm like, Sulin is 5'5", right?
Yeah, and white-haired, so she's kind of old.
Yeah, and she's just, like, it's like me trying to get pants on my nephew, you know? Who's
she's
2.
Like, and Rand's like, my arms aren't even over there.
She's like, you shut the fuck up.
They're just, like, fighting over how to get his clothes on, and Rand's like, this is the worst.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you deserve it.
Yeah.
For making Sulin your personal servant.
Yeah. But Matt's just being a dirty boy. Elaine is like, Matt looks like he's just been rolling through taverns. It's like, well.
He has.
He has.
You guys aren't letting him do shit. But I don't know. That's sort of those chapters.
Yeah.
Ain't nothing more to say.
Okay. Nothing more to say. We're getting into it.
Yeah, we've got, like, I don't know, 2 more weeks left.
Yeah, something like that.
But it's all, except for a few very brief asides, like Mogadien escaping.
Oh, yeah.
At the very end of this book, which is so funny, because I, like, get mixed up Logain and Mogadien.
Yeah.
You know, it happens quite close to each other.
I honestly forgot Mogadien existed, because we haven't chatted about her in a few episodes.
Yeah, we've just sort of ignored that war crime going on. But yeah, we'll be pretty much dealing with Rand being in a box, and Perrin being like, my boy's in a box. What's in the box?
What's in the box?
What's in the box?
It's my childhood best friend.
It's my childhood best friend who I'm kind of mad at all the time now. It's like, oh, well, complicated relationships, man. Happens. Thanks for listening, y'all. Thanks to Glenna McKenzie for our theme song. Thanks to our supporters on Patreon and our followers on social media. All the usual stuff.
All the huge.
All the huge. Do you have anything to add?
Emily just did a great presentation on the history of ancient China on our In an Hour or Less series on Patreon.
Ironically, it was not less than an hour. I think it was an hour and 5 minutes. Title's more of a guideline.
We're running on women's time, so an hour can mean whatever we want it to mean.
Women's time?
Yeah, like Robert Jordan's confusing
right.
women's aging.
Yeah, you're right.
So it can mean whatever we want. An hour can be 70 minutes instead of 60. Who cares? Winter's Heart blogs officially started last week when you guys are listening to this. So if you want to check out, they're kind of a mess. Because I've been
like the book.
kind of a mess.
Winter's Heart sucks, so.
Mostly just been trying to get through the Perrin and Fail kidnapping drama at the beginning.
So many kidnappings.
I know.
The later series.
Yeah, I mean, Perrin literally just sits on a hill staring into the woods for so long that he becomes hypothermic, and it's like, okay. Okay.
So stupid. It's like some fan fiction nonsense.
Yeah. So, check that out if you're curious. Yeah, that's it.
Do you have a sign off?
I'm trying to think of a funny story about the cats. This is probably not very funny, but my dad is in town, and so we were chatting, and for some reason cryptocurrency came up.
Ugh.
You know, a dad topic. And my brother Ian was just like really having a hard time wrapping his head around it. And I get it. I think cryptocurrency is also really confusing. And he's like, I just don't get it, because it's like, he's like, it's not like the cryptocurrency has any actual value. Like, it's all fake. And I was like, Ian, I hate to break it to you, but all money is fake. And he was like, no. He's like, money used to equate to the value of gold. And I'm like,
oh boy.
I was like, Ian, money is fake. The economy is fake. Stocks are fake.
Same vibes as when Thor is like, all words are made up.
Yeah, exactly. And
Beat that motherfucker.
yeah, and he was just like really struggling with the concept that money is a human construct. And not like dinosaurs weren't whipping out $100 bills or
Money's
whatever.
not real.
Money is not real.
Guys,
So,
let's
anyway.
find your interactions for the next week.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Have a good week.
Bye.
Bye.